On this Tuesday night, Operation Hardball, the FBI and RCMP join forces to bust violent gangs based in India.
Targeted killings, extortions, and kidnappings.
And the accused are linked to the murder of a Sikh separatist in BC. Money.
There's opportunities for decades ahead.
The potential economic benefits and challenges of Canada's multi-billion-dollar submarine deal with a German company. Team Russia could return to the Olympics, why the IOC is lifting its ban. Plus, World Cup windfall.
The numbers are insane.
How the tournament proved to be a game changer for some Canadian businesses and even soccer skeptics.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There has been a big break in the crackdown on transnational criminal gangs based in India. Gangs accused of extortion, drug trafficking, kidnapping and targeted killings, including the murder of Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Surrey, BC 3 years ago. The RCMP and the FBI, acting together, arrested 3 people in British Columbia, 13 in the US and 1 in Spain. 7 other accused men are already in prison in India, including the FBI alleges the leaders of criminal syndicates who, from their prison cells, ordered violent crimes around the world, often targeting the Indian diaspora.
The indictment spells out how, among other things, this gang would partner with corrupt law enforcement officials in India to falsely accuse enemies of crimes within India. The organization targeted in this indictment would use commercial semi-trucks to move hundreds of pounds of cocaine and methamphetamine each week across the United States and into Canada for other drug trafficking organizations.
This investigation has taken years, and the RCMP describe it as a big moment for public safety in Canada. Jackson Proskow has our top story tonight.
These are just some of the guns and drugs recovered by Operation Hardball, a crackdown on Indian organized crime syndicates. In all, 37 people are charged. 3 were arrested in Canada and made their first court appearance in Vancouver.
All these individuals played a significant leadership role in directing criminal activities impacting multiple countries.
The broad operation captured suspects linked to the designated terrorist group known as the Bishnoi Gang. Several of the suspects are allegedly responsible for the 2023 assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Sikh separatist leader gunned down in Surrey, BC.
The gang used this assassination and other high-profile acts of violence to terrorize Sikh and other Indian communities.
The indictment accuses the leader of the group, Lawrence Bishnoi, and another defendant of ordering Nijjar's murder. Bishnoi has been in an Indian prison since 2015. Prosecutors allege he continued to run his crime syndicate behind bars with contraband cell phones.
We literally have the murder of a Canadian citizen at the hands of foreign actors, at least to some degree.
Both Canadian and American officials have previously claimed the assassination of Nijjar and a foiled plot in New York targeting one of his friends were ordered on behalf of the Indian government.
Agents of the government of India have...
In 2023, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau caused a diplomatic rift, accusing India of direct involvement in Nijjar's murder.
The evidence brought to light by the RCMP cannot be ignored.
Now the RCMP and FBI have gone further, uncovering what they allege is a vast criminal conspiracy, including multinational drug running and extortion. In one example, prosecutors say Bishnoi and others contacted a person in Brampton, Ontario, and made multiple calls threatening their family and employees and demanded a payment of $500,000. Officials say there is much more to come in their investigation, with at least 11 of the suspects still wanted and on the run. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
The U.S. military says it's launched a series of strikes on Iran in response to attacks on 3 commercial oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's deputy foreign minister calls the U.S. attacks a violation of the agreement signed last month to negotiate a lasting peace. The U.S. has also revoked a temporary sanctions waiver that had allowed for the sale of Iranian oil on the global market. Canada's Prime Minister is at the NATO summit in Turkey. Mark Carney is talking up his plan to buy up to 12 new submarines for the Canadian Navy and the fact Canada has now met NATO's defense spending target. Mackenzie Gray is traveling with the Prime Minister.
Thank you. It's NATO's hottest throuple. Canada, Germany and Norway celebrating their new submarine deal.
We made the right decision for Canada. We made the right decision for NATO.
Canada set to purchase up to 12 subs worth an estimated $100 billion, including maintenance, the largest defense contract in Canadian history, with another benefit.
Our people from the Navy can exchange, they can visit each other's ships, they can integrate strategy.
But while the Prime Minister celebrated with his new partners, he attempted to mend South Korean hearts, meeting with the President, after their sub bid narrowly missed out. The Defense Minister promising there are no hard feelings.
There's a lot of cooperation possibilities here between Canada and Korea. We're going to continue building that relationship, and that's exactly what the Prime Minister mentioned.
But those possibilities didn't include South Korea joining Carney's defense pitch to middle powers. A defense bank to pool financing and resources, spearheaded by Canada, announced today. With only 8 countries involved, short of the 10 countries, a senior Liberal told Reuters they'd aim to get on board.
Dear Prime Minister, thank you so much.
The biggest player who joined, Ukraine, who Canada seems close to giving additional support to.
Canada is here short, medium, and long term. Mr. President, we're going to talk about some very specific initiatives around air defense.
10 Saab Global Eye aircraft.
Defending the skies, a focus of NATO, announcing they plan to buy 10 new spy planes with a Canadian connection. The Saab Global Eye is built with a Canadian-made Bombardier body, the same plane Mark Carney announced Canada also intends to purchase.
This will ensure we keep NATO's owned and operated surveillance and early warning capability strong and credible for decades to come.
As for the cost of the massive run-up in defense spending, Donna, it's not clear, with the defense minister refusing to say how much money the Canadian Armed Forces will get this fiscal year.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ankara, Turkey, thank you. The Navy's new submarines won't be built in Canada, but the promise is more than 100,000 jobs will be created here through manufacturing, maintenance, and support. The German company chosen to build them says it will generate more than $160 billion for Canada's economy. Hardeep Singh has a reality check on that.
Canadian defense company Gastops designs complex monitoring systems for ships and planes. Technology, it says, will be part of Canada's next fleet of naval submarines.
We're going to have an in-service support center of excellence that will support sustainment, is support evolution of that capability.
It was tapped by TKMS to utilize its tech for the nation's new subs, even before the Prime Minister announced the German shipbuilder was chosen for the contract.
The opportunity to be part of a program that's decades long is phenomenal.
And that's what the defense industry is counting on. While the vessels themselves aren't expected to be built here, components will.
That means welders, pipe fitters, engineers designing the next generation systems.
Mark Carney says that means more than 100,000 Canadian jobs. Companies like Irving Shipbuilding have already met with TKMS to talk about what it will take to maintain the subs over their lifespan.
What are the economic requirements that the government of Canada specifically wants this company and through this company Germany to deliver on?
That's yet to be determined. Just how much money the deal will generate for the Canadian economy and workers is a balance Ottawa must negotiate.
If you have competing demands on, I want advanced military capable equipment, but also I want to meet these domestic economic requirements, there's inevitable tension there.
The construction and operation of maintenance facilities for these new submarines will require all hands on deck at a time when the construction and marine industries are short tens of thousands of workers.
We already have the institutions that already train and equip individuals. They're working all over the world.
Big win by the submarine program.
Gastops expects its work with TKMS will start to ramp up in the next few months. The first vessels are expected by 2034. Hardeep Singh, Global News, Halifax.
One day after Rogers Communications struck a $4 billion deal to become the sole owner of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, its sports and media division has shut down 6 of its radio stations. The all-news stations in Vancouver, Calgary, Kitchener, Ontario, and Halifax, as well as the 2 Sportsnet stations in Vancouver and Calgary, are off the air tonight. 80 people have lost their jobs. An additional 150 positions are being eliminated as the company slims down. Rogers says it's because of declining audience and revenue trends. Canada's Senate is intended to be a chamber of sober second thought. Whether it has always been that is up for debate. Senators are appointed, not elected, and today Prime Minister Carney made his first picks, appointing a Conservative MP from Quebec, a senior Liberal strategist, a cancer researcher from New Brunswick, and a Manitoban businesswoman. As Gillian Piper explains, Carney is taking a different approach from his predecessor.
Yeah, Donna, the Prime Minister is scrapping the nonpartisan requirement for Senate appointments in his latest move away from Justin Trudeau.
After the Senate expense scandal, Trudeau kicked all Liberal senators out of his caucus, forcing them to sit as independents and pledging future appointees would be nonpartisan. But many critics have argued that change was just lip service.
He may not have had, big L Liberal appointees. There seem to be a lot of small L Liberal appointees.
The Prime Minister's office says there is no plan to recreate the Liberal Senate caucus, but argues partisan candidates with knowledge of governing processes will contribute to a stronger, more effective Senate.
We've done a lot to appoint people from around the country.
Carney using the new criteria in his first round of picks to the upper chamber to appoint one of his top advisors, Tom Pitfield, a close friend of Trudeau's.
The Liberals are determined to make life even more difficult.
Partisanship also no longer a barrier for Conservative MP Richard Martel. He's giving up his Quebec House of Commons seat for the Red Chamber, writing, "It is with great pride that I embark on this new chapter." Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has congratulated Martel, but the appointment marks the fifth Tory to leave the Conservative caucus since the fall.
Where there is smoke, there is fire, and Mr. Poilievre has had smoke basically burning for the last 12 months.
3 House of Commons seats are now vacant, with at least 4 more MPs expected to resign this summer. There is no date yet for those by-elections, but this pollster says the Liberals' majority seems safe.
They would be in a really good position to challenge in all of them.
The Prime Minister is keeping one Trudeau-era reform, an independent Senate advisory board, which his office says will be appointed in the coming days. Donna?
Okay, Gillian Piper, thanks. The BC government is preparing legal action against OpenAI related to the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge.
It starts from our desire to hold OpenAI accountable for any actions that could have prevented the harm that happened in Tumbler Ridge.
The province has retained lawyers in California, where OpenAI is headquartered. BC's Attorney General says the company failed to notify law enforcement of violent prompts the shooter made on OpenAI's ChatGPT platform ahead of the tragedy. In February, an 18-year-old killed their mother and a half-brother at home and 5 children and an educational assistant at the school. 27 others were injured. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. OpenAI said it had banned the shooter's account in June of 2025, but that the content did not meet the threshold to report it to authorities. In Montreal, thousands of police officers from across Canada paid tribute to a fallen officer. 34-year-old Mohamed Lamine Ben Redouane was shot and killed in a brazen attack last month. His funeral was held in Montreal's Bell Centre. The 34-year-old was described as a dedicated father and a hero who managed to save lives in his final moments. The IOC does a U-turn. Coming up, why it's lifting a ban on Russia competing at the Olympics. Russian athletes could be back competing at the Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has lifted the suspension it put in place in 2023 after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. 3 years later, that war is still raging, but the International Olympic Committee has changed its position. Mike Armstrong explains why.
The war that led the International Olympic Committee to ban Russia hasn't ended, but new leadership at the IOC is taking a new stance on Russia's suspension.
I think it's important for us to acknowledge that we don't condone any wars, including this one.
Kirsty Coventry took over as president of the IOC in June of last year. From day one, she said sports should be neutral and athletes shouldn't be punished for things done by their government. Coventry herself, after an Olympic swimming career, served as Zimbabwe's sports minister in a government that faced international criticism over its human rights record.
I don't believe athletes should pay the price. And I wouldn't be sitting here if I had to pay the price when my country was going through things and being sanctioned.
Now, what specifically triggered the IOC's 2023 suspension was Moscow officially recognizing sports organizations in occupied Ukrainian territory. The IOC now says those organizations have been removed, eliminating the legal basis for the suspension. That said, Russia still won't be allowed to host events or send officials to events, and what happens if a Russian athlete wins is under review.
A decision will be taken at a later date on the flag and anthem.
Russia's Paralympians were allowed to compete at the Winter Paralympics in Italy earlier this year. At the time, the IOC was hinting an Olympic ban could be lifted.
The reaction was certainly negative from some circles, but it wasn't overwhelmingly so.
Russia needs to reform, and until they reform, they should be suspended.
Well, prior to this suspension, Russia was already serving another Olympic sanction over its doping program. The last time Russian athletes competed at an Olympics under their own flag was Rio, a decade ago. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Ahead from privacy to the palace, Prince Harry's difficult week back in London. That terrifying thing is a rare and deadly tornado in central China. It formed Monday during severe thunderstorms. It carried winds of up to 150 kilometers per hour. 11 people were killed, more than 300 injured. Damage in the region was widespread. There are overturned cars, roofs, ripped off buildings. More than 4,000 homes were damaged, as well as many businesses. Prince Harry is back in London, and it has not been an easy few days. He and 6 other high-profile figures have lost a £50 million privacy court case against the UK's Daily Mail. They accuse the publisher of using illegal methods to gather information. And any hopes Harry may have had for a reconciliation with family appear to have been dashed, as Vincent McAviney reports.
Prince Harry arrived in central London to deliver a speech about his Invictus Games, just as it was announced he had lost a major legal battle with Britain's biggest newspaper.
Every one of us believes that those who have served their country, and in particular those whose lives have been changed by that service, deserve more than our gratitude. They deserve opportunity.
The High Court did not believe the Duke of Sussex, who, along with celebrities including Liz Hurley and Sir Elton John, sued the publisher of the Daily Mail over claims of unlawful information gathering, including travel and medical records, and of phone hacking and bugging. The Prince also claimed the newspaper group had made his wife Meghan Markle's life an absolute misery. It comes during a difficult week for the Prince, who had hoped to holiday in the UK with his wife and children, but returned alone after being refused police protection. The whole family have not been in Britain since the late Queen's funeral in 2022, amid Harry's ongoing safety concerns. There's also been embarrassment after the Prince's team announced he had accepted an offer of royal accommodation for the visit, only for Buckingham Palace to say he could not stay, as he had missed the deadline to respond to the invitation. The Prince had wanted his children, Archie and Lilibet, to spend time with their grandfather the King. Harry last saw his father briefly in February 2024, following Charles's cancer diagnosis. He was not expected to see his brother Prince William, with the pair still estranged. They last met during the Queen's funeral in 2022. Losing this case brings to an end 15 years of legal battles between public figures and Britain's newspapers. The editor of the Daily Mail says it's a vindication for their journalism. Prince Harry, who blames the death of his mother Diana on the British tabloids, has described the decision as a whitewash. Donna?
All right, Vincent McAviney in London, thanks. Next, the final FIFA fandom in Vancouver as the last World Cup game is played on Canadian soil.
I always said that, I would retire a Toronto Raptor, and that was everything. This place is, I call it home, I mean it.
And he has done it. NBA star Kyle Lowry has retired as a Toronto Raptor after 20 NBA seasons. Lowry signed a one-day contract with the team so he could make good on his promise to end his career in Toronto. He spent 9 seasons in the city, helping the Raptors win their first NBA championship in 2019. It was announced today he's joined the ownership group of the WNBA's Toronto Tempo. Colombian soccer fans were hyped for the game in Vancouver. Hundreds showed up outside the team's hotel to cheer them on ahead of the match at BC Place. It did not go their way, though. Switzerland beat Colombia 1-0 in a penalty shootout. Switzerland now moves to the quarterfinal against Argentina. That was the last World Cup game in Canada. The men's national team went farther than many expected. It was their best ever performance at the World Cup. Sarah McDonald has some perspective on the magnitude of Canada's World Cup moment.
Doesn't it feel like this?
Good evening and thank you for joining us from Canada's Soccer House here in Toronto.
Was all just a moment ago? After years of preparation and anticipation,
they just brought us all together as one.
The World Cup that not all Canadians were completely sold on ultimately turned even some of the most hardened soccer skeptics into football fanatics.
When everyone was like, oh, it's not going to be that crazy, it's not going to be that busy, well, they were wrong.
In host cities, Vancouver and Toronto, business owners like Jeremy Fisher are closing in on closing time with a World Cup windfall.
The numbers have gone from, like, if we say here, they've gone like way up here.
But now, as Canada's run for the Cup comes to an end, so too does our country's role in hosting the Games. Tuesday's match in Vancouver, the final one on Canadian soil. Colombia meeting Switzerland at BC Place Stadium.
It's just a message of the power of sport.
And among the tens of thousands in the stands, someone who knows firsthand how it feels to make sports history on the international stage.
You know, the World Cup is truly the world's game. As much as we love hockey, it's very isolated to kind of Europe and Canada. And so, you know, there's very few events that bring the world together, and this is one of them.
Canadian hockey icon Trevor Linden taking in the game at a teachable moment with his son.
You know, I've got a 9-year-old son, and just explaining to him how special this is to have this event in our country and in our city is really cool.
So for now, farewell, FIFA. But if some get their wish,
I hope maybe in the next 10, 20 years, we can have FIFA World Cup Canada alone.
Just maybe, it won't be forever. Sarah McDonald, Global News, Vancouver.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is this patriotic home in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.